Right, back with poly. I did this off camera because I was getting quite emotional putting this back on. Freshly painted cladding. There we go. So what else is there? So under here, whereas before was just thick of this, is now 2 layers of that. Nice lead. It's time to put the firebox cladding on. All freshly painted. So we'll put the throat plate bit on first, and then we'll put that over it and bolt it on with all these tiny little bolts. And then from behind we can pack it with lead. This one slipped, we can pack it with lead and then put the back plate on it, and then the boiler will be fully clad. And now from the back head you can kind of see what I was on about with the space we've got in here. And we've got another £6 of lead up in there, which means all in all there's £20 of lead on this boiler. Evenly distributed, I may ask, but you also might think this is going to rattle around a bit, and it might, but I'm going to wad up some of this insulation stuff and just pack it in there before I put the back head on it. That's a big job done. This is now bloody heavy. That should help with some traction. Just got the right hand side brake rigging reconnected. This is the middle axle, front axle, rear axle. Other side will follow once you've got that running board off. Got to focus on this side first. Just quickly now, this is the underside of the running board. We have a slot milled out here on a slight slope for the whistle. Now what we've just made off of a camera are these 2 little brackets, little clamps if you will, to go there and there to hold the whistle in. Not a standard poly whistle, this is one me and Dad made. Sounds like this. And if you blow it really hard, just by blowing it and overblowing it, you get 2 tones out of it. So I go in there like that. I've got one clamp over there and the other clamp over there. Again, this is all very much non-standard polys. But this whistle isn't a new whistle for her. This is the whistle that she had for a while before we disassembled. Nothing against the normal whistles that polys have. We just wanted different, to be honest. Originally, this whistle was mounted in the traditional place, using the same mounting hole and bolt as the normal whistle. It's just not what we wanted anymore, so we changed it. So you might be asking why I'm using these funny little button-headed bolts. Button-head, I don't know if that's the right term. Allen-headed bolts. It's because they're the same bolts that are used all over poly as standard around the cab, the running boards, and anything around there. So it seems fitting to me, and it looked quite nice if everything matches. I know you won't see these in particular, but it did half make working on it easy. We only need one Allen key for everything, and you just buy a bag of 100 bolts to work on it. There we go. Slightly misaligned hole there. Nothing to write home about. As you can see, we can still get to the pipe connection. So the one remaining hole to put in this running board, I can't do yet, because at some point there will need to be a hole in this. Needs to be a hole in this sort of area for the whistle pipe to come through up into the cab to the whistle valve. There we go. So you might notice I've angled that a bit of an angle outwards. My theory being it might then clear the wheel which is running here and the frames, just to avoid direct steam spraying them. But I don't think it'll make that much difference. So now, say for shortening a couple of the bolts to clear the wheel flanges, so this one here and this one here, that one and that one are fine, so we can actually bolt this back on, which I'm now going to do. Right, and these two just need shortening before they can go in. But starting to look more and more complete every time. Right, back to looking at this back corner. The cab floor freshly painted, along with the steps and the valance. Freshly painted brake handle and freshly reassembled. So first steps is to reassemble this into the cab floor, which is quite simple actually. It's just a poke through, and then on the bottom go the washer with a cutout to the rear. And nut, you might ask what the cutout to the rear is for. It's to clear this on the buffer beam casting. You might look at this and say, oh, I don't like the paint on here, but you won't see this. You won't see this at all once it's there. It's just got some paint on it for the most part. You just need some protection. So we'll do that nut up. Being careful to keep the washer where it is. We'll just get a spanner on that, if we can find the size spanner. Okay. So for reference, that is a 5/8 spanner. Cool, that's the brake handle we attached to the cab floor. And then to reinstall onto here is quite easy. We'll push that lever down. It's the brakes underneath, the brake thingy underneath. So then we're going to have to a bit of jiggery pokery this time. Maybe I should have left the handle out of the floor and put it on in situ, but I didn't think of this, so we'll see if we can get away with it. Now, if I remember rightly, so there we go. In it goes. that's under. So it just needs to spring a little bit to get this to drop down and the steps inside the buffer beam, which might be a bit of just brute force and ignorance, to be honest. And there we go. So I've still got the little bolt to put back in that I've forgotten, nearly failed me the first time, which is this little guy. Started. I can use an Allen key, honest. There we go. Bit of touch up here. I scratched it getting the steps in, but the brake rigging is now on, and we'll wind the brakes off and wind them on. Yes, the handle is backwards, so this is brakes off, this is brakes on. So brakes are currently on all the way up. Let me take off. Cool. Brake rigging on, cab, left-hand cab floor on. So all the way from here, that's the new valance done. This bit of floor will go on once the smoke box goes on because it's the same bolts through the frame. But that is this side complete. So what's left? There are some holes left to put in here. So the whistle being under there needs a hole somewhere here for its pipe to come through, and up here in sort of this pattern will be bolt holes for the cab. Actually, I don't think there's one in there, I think it's just out here, which will mark with the cab in situ, and the same on the other side behind the reverser. But there we go, brake reinstated. Well, that took a bit longer than we thought, didn't it? So thank you for watching all of that, and I know the live test that I did was a little bit further advanced in this video. She's a lot further on than the video now. So I had some issues with the editing software, but now resolved, and we can get back to the regular progress. Also a bonus video coming up from a trip away recently, and then normal service will be resumed. There's already 2 other videos editing. Well, behind the camera is where the computer is. Stick with it. We're back.